is Lakshmi. At least that's what I was called until my son was born. Then I became known as Mother of Ram. This is how I will be known for the rest of my life. I was proud to have a son. I will live out my whole life here on the Ganges plain in North India. Most of my life will be spent in and around this house here in my husband's village. Once in a while, I will return to my parents' village for a visit, but I am satisfied here. I have a good husband. His name is Gopal. He is a hard worker. We share a little land with my husband's brother. Gopal and I have enough for ourselves and our 3 children. Ram is our eldest child. He is in 3rd grade in school. The barber thinks his hair is a bit unruly. So do I. He studies hard in school. I hope he will go far in life. Shanti is the middle child. She is old enough for 1st grade, but she doesn't go to school. Someone has to take care of the baby. And besides, there isn't much reason for a girl to learn how to read. She will be married someday. The baby is just over a year old. We haven't named him yet. He won't get a name for another year or so. So many of our babies die so young. I have already lost 2 babies. One died when he was born. The other died when he was 2. Shanti and the baby keep each other company most of the day. They play at home and they wander about the village, observing the daily activities. Many things happen at the pond. The washermen stand in the water and swing the wet clothes up over their heads and bang them down on the rocks. On the other side of the pond, the villagers wash their water buffaloes. Sometimes a water buffalo gets loose in the pond. Then someone has to get him out. This takes a lot of time. The washermen chant as they work, so the washing area is often a noisy place. The potter seems to be able to produce an endless array of cups, dishes, and whatnot from the lump of clay on his potter's wheel. He will make this clay into one of the large pots I use for carrying water on my head. The potter lives near us, and sometimes he gives Shanti a bit of his clay so that she can make toys. She likes to pretend she has a stove just like Mother. Like most Indian women, I use cow dung in my stove. It's a smoky stove, but the smoke keeps away the mosquitoes at night, and over the years it helps to discourage termites from eating away the rafters in our roofs. Cooking is a long process, even though our meals are simple. I have to grind grain for our Indian bread, mix the flour, and I cook the vegetables when we have them. I wash the rice before I put it on the fire to boil. All this takes a lot of time. We usually raise enough to eat, but we have little left over to sell. While I'm preparing supper, Shanti watches the baby. Ram does his schoolwork. He is a good student. My husband Gopal often takes a bath while I'm working on his supper. He takes at least one bath every day, even in the chilly air of winter. I feed Gopal and Ram before I feed Shanti and myself. After Shanti and I eat, and while I'm cleaning up the dishes, Gopal amuses the baby. Ram likes to play teacher with Shanti. His teacher says he would make a good teacher someday if we can afford to send him on to junior high school. I want him to have a good education. Then he will have a better life. One night after supper, I decided to ask Gopal about this. I told Gopal, I am concerned about the future of Ram. I want him to get a good education. Gopal said, we are sending him to the primary school. He is getting a good education there. He will learn how to read. But I argued that I wanted Ram to go to junior high school, where he can learn more. Gopal said the junior high school is very expensive. He didn't see how we could afford it. In junior high school, the students have to buy expensive books and the tuition. No, he said, we could never afford it. Only wealthy people, like the big landholders, can afford junior high school for their sons. I pleaded with him. Couldn't we get more money somehow? That made him angry. Mother of Ram, he said, already I'm working as hard as I can. I till the fields with my brother, and when there is no farm work to do, I join the men who make cigarettes. He was very stern with me. He said, you know that if I work hard all day long making cigarettes, I can earn enough money to buy clothes, spices, and the tuition for sending Ram to primary school. But junior high school, I'm afraid, is simply out of the question. Well, I was persistent. I told him I'd heard that there are ways to grow more food on the land that we already have. I reminded him that the price of wheat is high. So is the price of rice. If we could only raise enough to sell some, in addition to what we eat. Gopal remembered a meeting he had been to and said, perhaps we could. At the meeting he had heard the government farm advisor talking about growing more food. The farm advisor had said that you need to use commercial fertilizer and new seed. But there were so many things Gopal didn't understand about the new way of farming. Making a switch like this would mean departing from the ways that have served our ancestors so well for so many generations. There are so many things to do in our traditional way of living. I have to gather up the cow dung and make it into patties for cooking. I have to milk the cow, help with the harvest, and it seems like I'm always getting water from the pond or the well. As I go about my daily chores now, I often think about that evening after supper, when my husband decided to look into the idea of the new seed and the commercial fertilizer. He talked to his brother that very night. His brother said it would be all right, provided my husband paid for the fertilizer and the new seed. My husband then talked to so many people. He talked to the shepherd next door. He consulted the oldest member of our caste in the village, and they talked together for hours. talk to the carpenter. The carpenter doesn't even have any land. But my husband wanted to find out everything anyone thought about the new seed and fertilizer. Finally, he went to see the president of the village. The president has lots of land and uses fertilizer and new seed. The president said the fertilizer and new seed would cost a lot of money, more than we had. But, the president said, Gopal would be able to get a government loan. First, he would have to get a certificate from the land clerk showing that he owned land. Gopal rode his bicycle to the land clerk's house 7 miles away. He asked the land clerk about getting a land certificate. The land clerk said Gopal would have to come back tomorrow. Today the clerk couldn't work on the certificate because he was going to the district office. Gopal was disappointed. Gopal tried 3 different days to get the clerk to make out the land certificate. The clerk was always too busy. Then a friend told him how to get the certificate. The next time he went to the land clerk's house, he gave the clerk some money. The clerk filled out the land certificate at once. At last we were getting somewhere. The next day my husband went straight to the farm advisor's house in a nearby village to see what to do next. The farm advisor filled out a loan application. The application showed the amount of seed and fertilizer Gopal was entitled to purchase on loan. The farm advisor told Gopal he would have to find 2 co-signers for his loan application. Gopal's brother and a neighbor agreed to co-sign. The next week, they went to the development office 5 miles away. The assistant development officer accepted Gopal's loan application and showed Gopal how to sign the papers, even though Gopal didn't know how to write. After they had signed the loan application, the assistant development officer told Gopal to come back in a couple of weeks to see if it had been approved. The application was approved, and the assistant development officer told him that the next step was to go to the seed store to pick up his seed and fertilizer. He told Gopal what day he should go to the seed store. Gopal's day for getting the seed and fertilizer was about 2 weeks before planting time. He went to the seed store on the proper day, but it wasn't open. He waited several hours as more and more disappointed farmers wondered what had happened. In the afternoon, the seed store official showed up and explained that the store was out of both seed and fertilizer. They should come back again in 2 weeks. During the next 2 weeks, Gopal prepared his land for planting. Then he returned to the seed store to pick up the seed and fertilizer, for this was the time to put it on his fields. But the official said there was still no supplies. He told Gopal, "Try again in a couple of weeks." Now Gopal had to make a decision. Plant now with the old seed and no fertilizer, or wait for the new seed and fertilizer. He decided to wait. For 2 weeks he rolled cigarettes. But when he stopped by the seed store again, there was still no seed or fertilizer there. So Gopal decided to plant. He could delay no longer. He used the same seed we have used for generations. It is reliable and will produce a crop if the weather is favorable. 3 months after the wheat was planted, Gopal got word that his seed and fertilizer had arrived. By this time, the crop was practically full grown. Now fertilizer would do no good. The crop was too mature. He had to decide. Should he go to the seed store and pick up the seed and fertilizer and have it on hand for the next season? If he did that, next season's crop would be better, perhaps, but unfortunately, he would have to pay off his government loan on the materials at the end of this harvest season. Harvest wasn't far off. We could pay off the loan by selling some of this season's harvest, but then we would be short of food before next harvest came. Gopal had worked so hard on the loan application that he lost many days' wages which he would have had if he had been making cigarettes. Therefore, we had less cash on hand than usual at this time of the year. If Gopal were to pay for next year's fertilizer and seed with part of this year's harvest, he would have to go to the village moneylender before the next harvest season to get money to buy food. Gopal has never had to go to the village moneylender before. The moneylender's interest rate is very high. He thought that perhaps he should refuse the seed and fertilizer he had worked so hard to get. Then there would be no loan to pay off. Gopal decided to get the seed and fertilizer. We harvested the grain. It was a good crop. Perhaps it would have been much more if Gopal had been to use the new seed and fertilizer. As I was winnowing the grain, getting it ready to take to market, I wondered if I had been wrong in pushing Gopal to try to grow more food. I don't want Gopal to be in debt to the moneylender. Once he counts out the money to you, you may be under his thumb for a long time. But maybe we will be successful. Maybe next year's crop will be very good. Maybe we can use the new seed and fertilizer every year in the future if we can only get started. Maybe we will be able to send Ram to junior high school. I would be so happy. Perhaps then there will be a better future for Ram.